Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 12. The chat is going crazy already. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to day 12. This is a build with me live stream where we build together. We have been, and over the last 40 days, we've been building the same app and adding a little bit feature every day. Thank you to everybody who is in the chat. Where the dance music go? I brought my dance shoes. Today's theme is meditation. Today's theme is relaxing. It's Zen. It's Wednesday, so it's a self-care Wednesday today. I don't know why, but it is self-care Wednesday today. Kaizen, hello. When is the stream starting? It is starting now. This music is making me feel sleepy. I hope the code doesn't make you feel sleepy. I think she went to get her chai. I went to get my Coke. And that's from a person who gets 7.5 to 8.5 hours of sleep every day. Lucky. Hey, Yash Gada. Gada? Yash Gada. How is it going? Welcome everyone to day 12. I hope my voice is clear. I hope the song is not too loud. Music is a little bit loud, so let me know if it's too loud. But I want to quickly introduce these streams and myself. I'm Shruti Kapoor, your favorite developer, entertainer, and content creator. In this series, I have been building an AI app which we have been working on collaboratively in this season 2, which started on February 1st. February, I've been building an AI app and we've been adding small features to it little by little. Today is a very fun day because we are going to decide which state management library we're going to choose. This is a safe place. Thank you for reminding that, Honor. This is absolutely a safe space, and we are a supportive community. Our Discord is a supportive community. So if you're looking for people who are looking to support you, keep you accountable, help you stay motivated, this is the community to be at. Also, speaking of which, we expect everybody to abide by our community guidelines, which means there is no bullying or harassing anybody in this stream or in our Discord chat. By the way, I'm a first-time viewer. Welcome, Honor. So nice to see you here. And if there's anybody else who's a first-time viewer, please raise your hand. Or if you are a seasoned OG, then say OG. Kaizen, me too. I feel like you are actually a first-time viewer, Kaizen, right? I think you might be here for the first time. Unless if you changed your name. Because I don't remember seeing you before. What was I saying? Oh yes, I was introducing myself. What else? Shruti Kapoor. Oh yes, I have an exciting announcement. Tomorrow I am releasing a fireside chat with Adi Osmani. I am so excited to share this fireside chat with you guys. This was such a fun fireside chat with me. Speaking with him helped me, actually motivated me to start this content creation journey and take it seriously. It has been my dream to start creating content, take my YouTube account seriously. And after talking to him, I was like, okay, you know what? If not now, then when? So tomorrow morning that goes live. Hold on. Where is the video? There is the video. Tomorrow morning that goes live, and you do not want to miss this. This was an amazing chat with Adi. Fireside chat. Hold on, let me share this link. If you don't know Adi Osmani, he is an amazing Google engineer who has written, I want to say 11 books at this point, has bunch of patents, talks a lot about performance, and has been in this space for, I don't know, 2 decades at this point. And he's just an amazing person to know. He's a great engineer, but also he's a great leader as well. And he talks about how to be an effective engineering leader. how to optimize your performance of the app, how to use browser tools to do that on LinkedIn. I think Adi is amazing. He has Twitter account as well, so definitely follow him. If you're not following him, you're missing out. There's a lot of information that he puts out. I'm gonna put this out here. And that is, hi junior developer, nice to see you here. And that is the announcement. Oh, also, just to remind you, we are doing a 3,000 sub goal on February 28th. We're gonna make chai together. We're gonna have, I'm gonna answer all of your questions. I'm gonna review a resume. And if we have time, we will also do an interview question together. So that's gonna be a fun stream. But for that, our goal is to get to 3,000 subscribers. Can we get there? Can you help me get there? Hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. Bring Pepper into the room. You know what? She's actually downstairs. I wish she was here. Oh my god, why is she talking again? Hold on. I need your help to get me to 3,000 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. And if you have subscribed, get your friends to subscribe to the channel as well. So we can literally make chai together, answer interview questions. It's going to be so fun. I think the stream is going to be like for 3 hours or something. Okay, today's stream is really fun because yesterday we've been working on state management. And yesterday we were gonna pick a lab. One of picking a state management library is to figure out what your needs are, what your data is, how data flows through your app, and what kind of data are you going to store in the client side, what kind of data are you fetching from the server. That's what we were doing yesterday. So I am going to share my screen and we are going to get going into it. 3 hours of chai, oh my. 3 hours of chai, oh my. Okay. It's giving pink today. Okay. Undo this. Where is my... I worked on RTK yesterday. Oh, nice. Oh, thank you for subscribing, Yash. I really appreciate you. Hi, Anas. Okay, I'm gonna add this. Alrighty. Let's go. So, where's my keynote? There it is. Okay. All right. Actually, just a vote to see how many people are new. But TanStack is fun. TanStack is actually really easy to use, and I'm surprised by how many things it is able to take care itself, like just TanStack Query itself, and it's really nice, a very nice library to use. Okay, a show of hands. At TanStack Start. You know, I am actually working on an open source project for TanStack Start, and that is going to be one of the future videos as well. Even if I don't do a live stream on it, I'm definitely going to make a video on it. TanStack Start. So stay tuned for that. Okay. By a show of hands, tell me if you're here for the very first time, so I know if I should do a redemo. If you're here for the first time, tell me first time. And if you are an OG, say OG. I should have like a game-based thing, like you get to pick one of the things, and then based on what you pick, maybe like, you know, the emojis will pop up. That would be so cool. Hand pink waving. Wait, what is that hand pink waving? Oh, okay. First time here. Hi, Yash. Junior developer, welcome. Hunar, also welcome. First time here. Hi, Abdul. Nice to see you here. Okay, that is good to hear that there are a few first time folks, and I'm sure there are a bunch of OG folks here as well, um, hiding away as first time folks, which is not a problem. Do we have something between OG and new? Do we have something between OG and new? I don't know. Maybe we can make something. First time. Hey, the petite principe. Principe? It is a ritual for me to be new every stream. Hi, Kaizen. Oh, such a cute penguin. I feel so happy knowing that there are a bunch of new people, but also there's a bunch of OG people. It makes me so happy knowing that you all are here and join me for this app. I think something that a lot of folks ask me is how I stay motivated. And now a tangent on this. So why not? Why not? Why not? Let's go there. A lot of people ask me how I stay motivated and how I'm like doing so much and how I'm like live streaming every day. And I think the secret is you guys, the fact that you show up and you keep me accountable. It is motivating enough for me to show up every day at 9:30. I was doing these live streams at 5 o'clock, and I feel like this was just like a perfect end to my work day. I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna work, and then at 5 o'clock, I know people are gonna be waiting, so I'm gonna find myself some courage, and I'm gonna get on the live stream, and I'm gonna get here. And same way at this point when I'm live streaming at 9:30, I feel like I can wrap up, and this is like the final thing I do, and it's such a high moment for me to come here and work with you. Motivated to do this after grinding at Slack. Yeah, like I wrap up my workday and I'm so excited to be here. One thing I do want to share is like working at a company, large scale company, you kind of get into the routine of things. Like you have the same sort of architecture you work on every day. If you add a new feature, that's usually in the same architecture as well. So but then when I come on these streams, I'm also exploring new libraries that I've never worked on before, that I've never used before. Like for example, I had never used convex before. Actually, I had used it a little bit, but not as extensively. I had never built embeddings before. I had done some AI app with LLM, but this time I'm doing so much in detail, so it helps me stay motivated as well. So if you want to stay motivated, find an accountability buddy. Start streaming on YouTube. Just the fact that you're putting yourself out there and the fact that people are showing up and loving what you're doing is such a big motivator to get you going. So a big thank you to everybody who comes on the streams, who has joined me today, who has joined me in the past. I really, really appreciate you coming. OG new people. Hello, Hazrat. Good morning and good evening. Hi, Ekamjot. Nice to see you. I love that you all are coming back. Thank you for coming back. Really appreciate you doing this. Thank you, Yash. I really appreciate you being here. Okay, on that happy note, let's get that app going. Okay, so for folks who are joining here for the very first time, you know what? Who knows the GitHub link? I feel like I share this link every day, but now I'm gonna create captains. Who's gonna be my GitHub captain? Who's gonna share the GitHub link? It also helps us. Thank you, Yash. Let's go, Kaizen. I will start again next week. My voice is finally getting back to functional state. Yay, I'm so happy, Hunter. I hope you start next week. I will definitely join. Okay. Somebody in the chat will share the GitHub link. But here's a demo of the app. This is what we've been building over the last like 40 days. 42 days. Damn, 42 days. Okay, so this is a real estate search app. So what we do is instead of writing like filters and writing like numbers in the app, you can actually literally write plain text in the app and you can say, I'm looking for a 3-bedroom house in Seattle in the range of this to this. Okay. And then you let AI do the job of converting this from English language to JSON. And then your backend does the job of calling the API with the parameters that you send. So for us, the parameter is going to be 3-bedroom, a house in Seattle in the range of, this is price min, price max. Okay. So if I hit search, I do a little loading thingy. And then we actually call the Zillow API, which is our real estate API. And then it calls the app, the API with the parameters that we send, and returns us back some properties that match our description. So we said 3 bedrooms, and it found a house in 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and so on. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. Oh, a cheap house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and so on. Oh, an expensive house. Only 4 bedrooms for that much money? Are you kidding me? Wow. 3 bedrooms for 2.1 million? Are you kidding me? Yeah, Seattle is expensive. Anyway, so what you can also do is you can click on like here. And this is how we've built a recommendation list. So if you click like, we actually show you properties at the bottom. I think I removed that. Oh, here. Based on your recommendations, these are properties. These are some properties that we think you would like. Of course, they don't look like properties right now because they are actually just IDs from the database. But the idea is based on the properties that you do like, or the property that you did click like on, we show you more properties like that. And we are using AI to do that as well. And that is how we generate embeddings. We're doing that through LLM, which is OpenAI. We generate embeddings, compare it using vector search, which we're using Convex for the database. And if you want to see, there's a question here, which is, are we building this? We have actually already built this in the last 42 days. So if you want to watch that, go back into YouTube and check out the playlist. This playlist will be, actually, I'll just show you where it is, and I'll share the link as well. We have been slowly building this app, so this is going to be linked right here. I'm spending 30 days building OpenAI and LangChain apps. This is the playlist. All of my streams are actually indexed here. All of the streams are here, so you can go ahead and watch those if you're interested in learning how to build this app. Oh, thank you, Arjun, for sharing GitHub. Yay! Arjun is the GitHub captain. Today I almost completed my backend zip and push on GitHub. Nice. Good job, Hazrat. What is your backend on? Okay, so if we've built all of that, then what are we doing today? Let me show you what we're doing today. Now, this is what the app looks like right now. Of course, the UI doesn't look pretty. Good fun days over the weeks. Yes, it has been pretty fun actually, Ritesh. Oh, thank you for joining us. I had pasted the GitHub link here. Where did it go? Oh, you know what? I think it might have gotten removed because links are not allowed in the chat. Oh, hi, Prince Rawat. Nice to see you again. Thank you for joining again. Okay. Kotlin. Oh, okay. Nice. I've never used Kotlin myself. Oh my goodness. Alrighty, so if our app is already built, what are we doing today? So season 1 is when we actually built this AI functionality of the app, which was in January. Season 2, we're actually building the UI portion and making it look pretty, but also making sure that it has good UX features and that it is productionized so that we can actually deploy it and have like good quality of code, which means adding state management, which means adding UX functionalities that we haven't added before, like lazy loading of images, infinite scrolling, proper loading states, proper state so that when you go back and forth between apps, we can actually store the state and we don't start off from scratch. Because right now, if you click on this is actually the property details page. There's nothing in here, but this is the property details page. And then if you go back, the state is lost. So we obviously want to fix that. And that is what we've been exploring in today's stream and yesterday's stream. Hello, Kizzy Gamer. How's it going? Welcome. Today joining late, sadly. No problem. You did not miss much because I just did a demo of the app. Zillow API free. Yes, Zillow API, the one that I'm using, is actually free. Hold on, let me share the link. Server.js. This is the Zillow API I'm using. This is actually not like the official Zillow API, but it is hosted on Rapid API by somebody, and this is a free version. I think you get like 500 requests in the free version. React Query makes life easy. Let's go. Yes, before we decide on whether to take React Query or not, we're actually going to explore why React Query. Are we going to explore some 3D UI library in coming days? You know, I have not thought about that. But maybe, why not? Maybe we could. So what do we want our app to look like? So this is fine. This is basic. It works. It looks fine. But we can make it better. And in this stream, actually, we collaborated together and we created this design. So this is what we want our page to look like. There's going to be a banner at the top. And I believe one of our one of our viewers has actually created the component for this, which is the header component. And I think Ishrat was the one who created this component. And I still have to review that PR. But what I want to share here is that this project is open for contributions. So if you feel like there's a component here that you want to build and practice skills and maybe add it to your resume, go ahead and send me a pull request. And this is the Figma. The Figma is also linked in GitHub, which Arjun has shared just above. Actually, let me pin it to the chat. So if you want to contribute, please feel free. And contributions are encouraged. Are we using Redux Toolkit query? No, we're not. We are actually not using any state management right now, but we're going to decide today which one we're going to use. And why have we not picked anything yet? Because we're still figuring out how the data flows in our app. And so if you all are familiar, actually, now here's a question for you guys. Which state management library are you familiar with? Could be more than one. And which one is your favorite? And why? Why would you choose it over the others? So there's 3 questions there. Let me write them down. Which state management libraries are you familiar with? Oh goodness, the font is so small. Number 2, which one is your favorite? And 3, why? Okay, so here's 3 questions for you. And if you're a front-end developer or full stack developer or just somebody who's familiar with these libraries, I would love to know your answer. Tell me in the chat. Redux and Zustand. Jotai. Oh, TanStack Query, the OG. TanStack greater than RTK greater than Redux. And I also want to know the whys. Used Redux. Would love to explore Zustand. You know, today I figured out the pronunciation of Zustand, and it is actually a German word apparently. Here.
So you want to use async code in your Zustand store?
Zustand.
No problem at all. Take this simple
Zustand. Heard a lot about it. Yeah, we're actually going to explore Zustand today. Hopefully if we get some time to code. Okay, I also want to hear the whys. I'm not hearing the whys yet. Why would you choose these? Why do you like TanStack Query? And if you don't have a definite answer of one over the other, that's fine. Just tell me why you like one library, or why do you like the library that you worked with, or what do you hate about it? Jotai because it's just simple and abstracted. Jotai, you know what? I have never used Jotai myself, so I am gonna look up the documentation. Build state by combining atoms and renders, and automatically build state by combining atoms and renders are automatically optimized based on atom dependency. This solves the extra redundant issue of React context. Oh, eliminates the need for memoization, interesting, and provides a similar developer experience to signals while maintaining our declarative programming model. Ah, okay. Signal based. First create atoms, primitive atom and derives atoms to build state. And primitive atom can be any type: booleans, numbers, strings, objects, arrays, sets, maps, and so on. So they create like 0, Japan, atom. So use atom to create it. So it's kind of like use state. And then, oh, you can create like objects as well. Derived atoms can be read from other atoms before returning its own value. So you got progress atom, and then you pick from another atom, and then you filter it out. Use atoms. Then use atoms within React components to read or write state. So you got this atoms from here, use atom from Jotai, and then you say use atom from this. It's kind of like use state. Jota is like use state, but if it worked across components and you didn't have to think. Interesting. I haven't used any state management library yet. I'm still learning. No problem. You know that I'm glad that you're here then, Abdul. TanStack Query makes all the edge cases cover related to fetch. Nice UX with infinite hooks. Also, there's suspense hooks with working on server components. Pagination with page-based. Infinite all cover. Yeah, TanStack Query is really good in that it has actually taken care of a lot of things for you, like infinite scrolling, loader states, suspense hooks. So that's really nice of TanStack Query. It preserves the state as well between routes, so that's really nice as well. TanStack Query is server client state management. What do you mean by TanStack Query is server client state management? With TanStack, we get is pending for fresh data and is refetching for fetching fresh data, which makes UX more cool. Then we keep old data until new data comes and update instead of showing skeleton. I agree. TanStack and RTK, less boilerplate. Boilerplate code and easy to use and maintain. Yes. So one of the things that I'm seeing here that people are actually talking about is that when you have to make fetch queries, TanStack is really helpful because it can take care of like refetching, invalidating the cache when you need to, infinite loading if you have a lot of data coming in. That is an important point to keep in mind, because when we're going to explore this app and figure out what state we need to send through, that's going to be helpful. Now, Jota is really good because it seems that when you have, it seems that this is very similar to useState, and if it works between components, that means that if you don't have to do a lot of fetching, but rather your one component depends on another component, so then that data is easy to transfer with Jotai. So that's why this seems like a good approach if you're not, if you have components that depend on each other. This also works with server-side rendering framework, which is cool. So let's explore this. So I think with Jota, it's kind of like use context and use context and use state combined. So you can read it wherever, but you just don't have to wrap it within a provider. You don't have to think about that. But it also said that it's more atomic, so it's not as bad as context, because for context, everything re-renders if the props change or if the value changes. Okay, so for this, create the provider in a separate client component, then import the provider into the root layout.js server component, use client, so this is a client component. And then what do? Create the provider in a separate client component, then import the provider in the root layout.js server component. Oh, so you create the client, the provider on the client side, but then you import it on the server side. Why do we have to do this? create the provider in a separate client component. So here they're creating this provider, and then layout.js, they're just importing that provider and sending it through the children by wrapping the children around it. Okay. Like context but fixed. Hey Aditya. So good to see you here, Aditya. I am doing well. I'm excited for our stream later, our podcast recording later. Use client, that's why separate component. I think what I don't understand is that why do we need to wrap the same thing again? So here we're creating the provider. Oh wait, this is providers. Export const providers. So we're creating Jotai provider in here, but then we have to wrap it on the server side as well. Why do we need to do that? Import the provider in the root layout. Wait, no, not this one. This one. Import into the root layouts JS server component. Wake up, join Shruti stream. Who are you telling that? Haven't used Jotai and SSR though. Ma'am, that component is use client and layout. If we add use client, we'll make whole app as wheat client side. You're creating a wrapper first, then using that wrapper. Oh, right. You're using providers and then wrapping the app in the... Oh, you're right. I think I didn't read it properly. So you're creating providers here, and then you wrap your children in that provider, and then you wrap your body in those providers. Something about it doesn't feel right. Make sure to add Jotai provider component at the root. I think that's how they include Jotai in like the server components as well. You just have to wrap it in the root so that if you're doing server components, you have it in your server as well. But then you create the providers on the client side. That's the only difference. I'm waiting for Node.js series. Skip the whole provider and everything. You're creating a wrapper first, then using that wrapper, not wrapping twice. Skip the provider and everything. Huh? What? Works without all that setup if the app is not SSR at least. Yeah, totally. I think for our case, actually, we need some SSR. That's why I'm looking into this. But I'm also curious. I think it's some part of it is just feels kind of weird to me. The fact that you create this on the client side and then you wrap your root with this providers feels weird. So the state is always on the client side? I don't get it. Provider from Jota is client hook. We can't use it in server component. That's why. Oh, we called new components providers, then use client directors to make client. That's next. Ah, okay, interesting. Provider from Jota is a client hook. Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you for sharing that, Ritesh. Hey, ma'am, I'm waiting for Node.js series. Aditya, what would you like to see in the Node.js series? I think I saw your comment, Aditya, on the channel. What would you like to see? Okay. Meanwhile, here's what we worked on yesterday. I think if you were not here, I just want to give you a reminder what we did yesterday. It's a state management. We're actually drawing out what state we have to carry within the app and how state flows from one component to another and which component actually needs the state. Okay. So why we are doing this exercise? We're doing this exercise because before we decide which library to pick, it's important to understand how is the data flowing in our app. Where do we need to store that data? What data do we need to store? Is the data coming from a fetch? Is the data being generated between client components and being shared across components? And is the data coming from user interactions? So what kind of data flow are we talking about, right? And that is going to help us determine which state management library we need. Because there isn't a one solution fits all kind of approach, right? There never is. So we have to understand which library we're going to use, which library is going to work for us. So that's what we're trying to understand here. How is the data flowing in this app and what kind of data do we need? So now this is the home page on the left side. Once we load the page, the first thing we do is we have a search bar. The user actually puts something in the search bar. So the user writes, I'm looking for a 3-bedroom. And what happens in the background, and this is going to be helpful for anybody who's missed the previous streams. This is what the architecture of the app looks like. So they put the search item in the web app. Then we actually, the front end actually calls this API called API parse properties. And this is really helpful to draw, to talk about, because I'll show you something. I'm going to make this red, okay? So this is where your server starts, okay? This is the server-side stuff that happens. So we call this API endpoint API parse properties, which actually uses this English language text that we had sent, which uses this English language text that was sent and converts it into, calls the natural, which is the natural language that we send, and sends it over to the LLM API, which is OpenAI. Then OpenAI actually converts it back into a JSON and sends it back. This is zoomed enough. Knowing the use case better should be the top parameter to choose library. Absolutely, exactly. This is exactly why we're doing this exercise. Because so many times I've seen folks that they pick a library without having the actual need for it. Sometimes you don't even need a library. Sometimes you can just use React stuff. So this is what we talked about yesterday. What React stuff can we use here without having to use the library, without having to use any external library? So, okay. So what LLM API does is sends back this JSON, which then we use to call our Zillow API, which the backend does as well. This blue thing is our backend. And then it calls the Zillow working API, which is the API that we use for Zillow, which sends us back a list of properties that match the parameters. And then we send this property back over to our front end. So all of this is happening on the server side. None of this is on the front end side, okay? Now, what are we going to put in the store? I have put client state store here because this is the store that we have right now. We don't have any server side rendering happening. This is a one-page app, single page app. So everything is happening in the same page. So what do we need to store? First, we need to store what search input was. I hope this is big enough. The text is zoomed in, but let me know if it is not. So we're going to store the search input, because if we go forward and back between pages, we still want to keep what item they search for. So for example, if you click on this if you fill search, if you click on this property, you see that we're on the property details page. This page is not developed, so don't worry about it yet. But if you go back, you see that it's lost, right? We want to maintain that. We want to keep that. That's why we have to store the search input. Then we also need to store the properties that we render on the page. This one, right? So for a specific search item, we would have the same properties. Hopefully. Although it, well, so we'll, for the same search phrase, we'll have the same properties. So what can we do here? How can we optimize this? Any ideas? Starts with the C. Map? Not quite. If we need to store this data so that we don't keep fetching it, what can we do? Starts with the C. Cache it! Yes! Exactly. Good job. We cache it. So we're highlighting this React query for the... Not yet. Hold on. Caching. Yes, exactly. Don't jump to the library yet. Why? Because we have to figure out what are the use cases. This is not the only use case. We have other pages as well, okay? Let's not jump into the library yet. But let's mark that this is something that we need to cache. Okay, how are we caching this? What are some search parameters that would help to validate or invalidate cache? What search parameter can you think? Like, what is the cache parameter? When should we invalidate this cache? Or what would make this cache invalid? When search query changes, yes, exactly. So the cache is dependent on the search input. Exactly. Because when the search value changes, what to be in the cache? When the search value changes, these properties would change. And when these properties change, we have to refetch. Yep, query changes is actually the key. Exactly. Some query might have different results after like a week, maybe 3 days. Yes, precisely. So we can invalidate after a certain time, but in terms of what is the key, that is the search input, right? And that's important. And then what data are we going to put in the cache? We're going to put all of these properties, this exact data. So basically, this entire store needs to be cached. Everything here. Okay. So that is the front end. That is the home page after you've searched something. Now, this is the next step we're going to do. We didn't talk about this yesterday, but I spent some time fleshing this out so we can so we don't have to spend too much time drawing it out. So what happens is that if we go back to our Figma design, so this is actually the property details card. That's what we've been talking about. I'll go back to the Figma design just to give you a reminder. So what happens is that these are the property details. These are the property cards that we've been talking about. You could like this property and then we'll generate a list of recommended properties. Okay. And then what happens is when you click like a property, when you hit this heart button, actually it's right this one. When you hit this heart button, we'll populate this section at the bottom that says based on properties you liked. And this is similar to how Netflix you've watched, and then at the bottom or you'll say continue watching. At the bottom you'll say based on this movie that you like, we recommend these 4 or 5 movies. So it's similar to that. So it'll say based on properties you liked, here are some other recommended properties. So that's the recommendation. Now, also, if you click on a card, this is the property detail page. This is how we're going from single page application to a multi-page application. Now our app is becoming more complex. Now we have multi-page application. Now here what happens is your route first of all changes. So your route will be, actually we've already implemented this, so I'll show you. Your route will be /API, no, not this one. Details, where is it? I'll just show it to you in the app. So if you click on this fill and search, and you open this, so your route will be /details/property ID, which is the Zillow ID. That is what helps us to fetch that data from the URL. Okay, so now on this property details page, what information do we need? And that is what we are going to talk about here. So this is the property details page. On this page, at the top, you'll see that we have a carousel. We have a carousel of pictures. So we have maybe 3 pictures showing, maybe like 2.5 pictures showing. And then if you click on this button, then we show you the next pictures. First of all, for this page, what is the most important thing? What defines this page? What sets this page apart from other pages? That is its URL that specifically includes the Zillow PID, the Zillow ID, the Zillow property ID. So that is what is important for this page. Then for this component, this carousel component, what are some properties that this component needs? What are some items that's going to be in its state? It's going to have the photos, which is all of the photos that we need to show. The photo source, photos is actually going to be an array. Photo source is actually the image source, which is which image to display, or like which image to fetch. And then photo indices, which is which index is currently on, or which indices are currently on that we should be showing, because we're showing more than one. So that is some state that it needs, right? And that is just local to the carousel component. If you click on the carousel, if you click on like the 3rd or 4th picture, the rest of the page doesn't care what the state of this carousel component is. What does that mean? That means that this state of the carousel component is local to the carousel itself, and it does not need to be stored in the client state. Now we can talk about like maybe optimizing this component and storing the images and stuff. In that case, maybe you need to store photos, but typically you don't need to do that. Local to the carousel component, exactly. All of them have different use cases. What do you mean? And then if we, so basically still going to be local to it. We don't need to put it in the client state store. We've established that, okay? Moving on, the rest of this page. So this page actually fetches information based on this URL, based on the Zillow PID. This number could be something like 92465, some unique identifier. And based on that, we actually fetch this information from the server. So we call the Zillow API and then we fetch this information, right? So this is also happening. This is also dependent on the server. After we have loaded this information like description and these kind of nice to have features or the key features of this property, we don't need to interact with this. State private to itself, exactly, carousel. The state for this carousel is going to be private to it. So we don't need to store it in the client state store. And these property details are nice to have. These are basically just static text. Once we load it, it's good. We don't need to interact with it. The only interaction sort of happening on this page is actually when you hit this like button or this heart button, and when you do this love it or not for me, which is actually doing the same sort of thing. So what this love it does, when you click the love it button, we show you more recommendations based on that property. Same with this heart button. When you click on heart, we actually save it to the database. Actually, we can even remove this heart button because it's kind of doing duplicate stuff. but let's focus on love it and not for me. So these two buttons, if you love it, we show you more properties that are similar to that. So it's recommended properties. We call the API again, the same stuff that we did before. We do that generate recommendations again, and then we fetch more properties, show it to you here. But then if you hit not for me, we discard this property, we mark it as something that you don't like, and then we generate you a fresh set of properties. So we actually do a vector search that is a dissimilar vector search, which is generate me embeddings or generate me properties that are different from this property. So that is the stuff that we need to store for this component, the recommended properties. Now I'm going to take a pause here and ask you a question, that what data should I put in the client store? Which of these data do you think should go in the client store? Meanwhile, I'm gonna go get my kurkure. Is the music playing here? A little bit, right? Okay, state store. Meanwhile, I'm gonna get some snack. No music? Oh no. I think I stopped playing some music now. Oh, okay. I'll turn the volume. Video just turned ASMR. No music. Okay, let me know if it's too loud, okay? All right, so okay, a lot of people are saying ZPIDs of all the sites showing up. Set up ZPIDs of all the sites showing up. Which is the ZPID to get the info of a particular site, isn't it? Yes, that is true. So that is a good indication that we need to store the Zillow PID. Now, the question is, should we store it in the state we could use a URL based state and store it in the URL so that you can share that URL as well with somebody, and then our share functionality would work. And then once they share that URL, we'll fetch it on that side, on their side, and load that same page for them. We're also caching the request for the Zillow ID already in the request. Caching in the request. Not caching right now, but yes, we should cache the request for Zillow ID in the request. And which library does that for us? I think you all know. TanStack Query. It already does that for us, right? It has URL-based cache routing and React Query. Exactly. TanStack Query, React Query, same thing. So yes, it does that for us. Now we figured out that we needed to store our URLs, and that is why that library works for us, right? So we figured out our use case, and then we figured out a library that would work for us. Good. But here's something I want you to look at. This is the stuff that we were talking about, right? And even though this is for the home page or the generate embeddings, this is still similar for this page as well, the client state store, because we're generating embeddings here. Now look at what happens and where the client and server side boundary is. So I'm going to copy this guy here. So what happens here? When you like a property, we generate embeddings for you. We save the property in the database, and then we generate embeddings for you. Now, what we do when we generate embeddings is we call the LLM API, which then puts us in the convex database. Then we send the 200 back to the API URL endpoint, which then does a vector search on the convex database list of recommendations. It could send back a list of 5 different properties, which are the properties the IDs that we were actually showing. And then we have to query the database again to get those properties back. All of this stuff is happening on the server side. So where is our line? This is our line. Right? Now, what optimizations do you think we can do here? Adding a caching layer to reduce DB calls, that is a great strategy. Where would we put the caching layer? On the server side or on the client side? Not sure if we need any more optimizations here. That's valid as well. Now I'll show you what happens. So we have a bunch of how many components do we have on this homepage? We just showed one component here, but we have a bunch of 12 components on this page that are doing the same thing. They have a Zillow ID, they call the server, they render this, and then for each of this, if you like them, we're going to be doing the same thing as this for each of them, right? If you end up like liking 12 of them, we'll have to do this entire thing, this entire stuff for all of them. Server-side caching for Zillow PID. On server side, yes, exactly. So caching it on the server side is a great example, is a great point. Why? Because if you see, we're doing so much stuff that actually deals with the server, and having to instead of having to send this data back to the client side where we then render this app, this component, how about we render the component on the server side itself and just send that component over to the client side? So then the client doesn't have to actually do the job of managing all of this data and all of this giant data. So the client doesn't have to worry about then calling the server and then figuring out about catching these errors as well, where there could be many of these, or caching them as well. So the client doesn't have to worry about that. So we could actually render this entire component on the server and just send back that component. And what are those components called? You might have heard of them recently. It became stable in React 19. Server components, that's right. Correct answer. Exactly. And that is why we can use server components to help optimize this app. Server components, correct. And a application that does server component, or a framework that does server components really well, is Next.js. And so this is how we could use Next.js. Now, there was a question in here which I think is a really good question by Dawn, which is, just to cache the URLs, are we going to choose TanStack Query? And that is a great question, because again, this goes back to pointing that if you only need a library for one use case, is it really a good use case? If we were only doing it for caching the URLs, maybe we did not need the library at this point. However, TanStack Query performs a bunch of other stuff, like helping paginate the page, which is something that we need, helping in lazy load the images, which is what we need. And so we're going to use TanStack Query for more than just URL caching. I want to open the stuff that it says it does. Okay, load more infinite scroll queries. We need this. Caching is something that we need. Suspense ready, we need that. SSR support, we need that. Prefetching, not so much. And what else? I think there is one that URL caching, which they don't even mention, but we need that. And so this is why TanStack Query is a really good library for us, because we depend so much on calling the server, and saving that information on our web app will be really helpful. Now, something that I do want to highlight is that we will benefit a lot from server components. And I am gonna highlight that, mention that here. Where was my text? So we're gonna convert these components into server components. I know that frameworks like Next.js help in creating server components, but I want to try to create server components without any framework. So in this series of building this app in this season, I'm also going to create server components without using any framework. So stay tuned for that. And it's going to be really fun. So what did we decide today? Now here's something else. We also have other solutions like Redux, and we also have solutions like Zustand. Why are we not using them? Let's go ahead and talk about Redux first. So in our app, what are some client interactions we're doing? The user likes a property, we build recommendations. Then they move on to the next page, which is the property details page, which actually they click on a property, and then we load that property. Then they would like it again, and then we show them more recommendations. And that's all the interactions we're doing in this property, in this page. So there's more fetching from the database than actual client interactions. Our number of client interactions are pretty limited. Therefore, we depend more heavily on fetching the resources or caching the resources on fetch and saving them instead of transferring data between components during client interactions. Because we don't care about client interactions so much, right? We're not really sharing much data between these apps. So if I go back to the actual working app, you'll see that if I fill and search, like I have this input that determines the rest of the page. But then as this input changes, I refetch, right? I search again, and basically my app is going through a reload. So there isn't much interaction between these two components except for like one-way data passing. Nothing really changes otherwise. And then same way, if I like this, then I show like a list of properties at the bottom. But if I interact with this doesn't change. Again, it's a one-way data flow, right? So there isn't a lot of interaction between components, which is why Redux wouldn't be a good choice here. So what have we decided? We've decided to use TanStack Query because we depend a lot on fetching resources, refetching them if needed, caching them on fetch, saving the URL parameters, and infinite scrolling, which is something that we care about a lot. So let's go ahead and look at TanStack Query's documentation. We are actually just 10 minutes before this stream would end, so I want to pause here to see if there are any questions anybody has. I want to answer any questions that come up. Makes sense, right? So TanStack also works in synchronizing and updating server state, which is really helpful. Also, if this session was helpful to you, let me know in the chat. Or if you would like to straight away see the code and skip all of this thinking behind the scenes, let me know as well. I think this kind of exercise about thinking the behind the scenes of picking a library is really important, especially as we become senior engineers and head into the architect level role. But if that is care about, or you would rather just go ahead and see the code, let me know as well. Thinking behind it all. Cool. Glad to know. Okay, now that we have decided what we're going to choose, let's look into the documentation. All right, there's a missing data fetching library for web apps. In more technical terms, it means fetching, caching, synchronizing, and updating server state. Most core frameworks do not come with the opinionated way of data fetching because not to be working with server state, can become out of date. Okay, here's the code. Okay, so you get query client provider and use query from TanStack React Query. Query client, you create a new client, you will wrap your app in the provider. And then you get is pending error and data. It's nice that it's already giving you is pending. So you call your API here, which for us is going to be the Zillow API. And then we're going to wrap the rest of our app with the is pending. And then is pending can show the loading state, which is something that we're doing right now. You should be charging for this actually. Paid a heap of fees from my uni. Thanks for helping it for free. Oh, you're welcome. If you like this content, support me on GitHub so I can keep doing this for free and I don't have to make a course. Hold on, I'm going to share my GitHub sponsors. Thank you, Dawn. Here, if you like this content, supporting me on GitHub sponsors. I have been thinking if I should make a workshop for state management. Go through all of this, but also help you build an app. Start with use state, add use context, add use reducer to kind of make it a bit more complicated. Preserve data between nodes using reuse ref, which is what we're actually using the TanStack query for. I will once I start earning some money. No problem at all, Dawn. I appreciate you supporting me anyway. And I really appreciate it. So I've been thinking of making a workshop where people can build like an app and slowly add functionality. So you pick like use state, like the hooks, and then as you add more functionality, you start getting frustrated with the stuff that React is getting out of the box. But at what point do you decide to go between the native stuff to a library? And that is the kind of diff that I want to talk about, that I want to teach, that you can get most of the stuff done with whatever React is giving to you out of the box. But once your app becomes quite bloated, once your app becomes more complicated, then you start adding more functionality, more libraries. I think I'm going to do it at React India conference. And if you want to see that, let me know. I will pitch that idea to React India conference. Have you seen the new view transition support that now we can persist the state of the HTML elements even when the element is changing the parent when the whole site is MPA? I have the view transition stuff. Actually, I did have a to-do to add a view transition. I think I wanted to add that like when I was opening a to-do, when I was opening a property card. I think I did have view transition, property details card. Yeah, it would be nice to add that in this app. Okay, so state management context TanStack query. We're gonna go with, also to tell you that we actually used context in this app day before yesterday. Actually, we were just passing it through props, but it could easily be transferred to context as well. But even for an app like this, that would be so easy to do. Like we could totally use context and pass data between the components. The only problem with having context is that this data was pretty huge, like our property is huge. And then if you change thing, the whole like app re-renders, or wherever you have your wrapped your child components re-render because of context. And so that makes it not very performant from a context standpoint. But if you had like simple values, like imagine having a feature, right? You just have light or dark. And then if light changes, the word light changes to dark, you want to re-render your component, which is a perfect use case for context. So even context can work for an app like this. Just in our case, we had a pretty huge object, so we don't want to save that in context. So we are going to go with TanStack Query is the winner. Okay. I think this was a great exercise to do, and I'm glad we did it. I think this sort of like client side and server side boundary also really helps in understanding that we need server components. Otherwise we tend to add like server components just for the heck of it. But here, understanding that there's a lot of work that is being done by the server side, and really we're just sending this data over to the client side so they can render this component, and all of this data on the server side, on the client side, is not really useful. Then you realize that, okay, maybe we can use server components. Maybe this is why server components are useful. So this is a super helpful exercise. Now I want to create this as a YouTube video, and if this is something that you would like to see, I'm going to condense everything that we talked about in the last 2 days, clean this architecture up, and create that into a YouTube video. And if you want to watch that YouTube video, stay tuned. Help me appreciate SSR today. Exactly, right? I use words and then you're like, wow, what? Server components? I don't understand why we need them. But then when you see the actual use case, you're like, oh, that makes so much sense. We would like to see that. Yay. Oh crap. Okay, so what's next for tomorrow? Tomorrow, actually, we're going to add TanStack Query to our app. I'm going to talk about where we want to add TanStack Query. Show recommendation properties in the UI. I'm also going to add, Arjun had actually shared this GitHub link. I'm also going to create issues in this repo for folks who want to contribute to a React project. And these issues are actually going to be these bite-sized components. So I'm going to create each of these components as an issue, and I'll link the design as well. So if you're interested in contributing to a React app, this is a great app to contribute to. We are going with TanStack finally. Yes, we are. TanStack is the winner. TanStack is the winner. And tomorrow we're going to add TanStack Query. We already have TanStack Router, so we're like heading towards TanStack Start anyway. So in progress, show recommendation properties. This is already in the. This is already in progress. Actually, this is done because we have a. I don't know why my markdown is messed up with this. We need to do. See, I cannot go backspace. Maybe I can Command X. If I go ahead, Command X. Okay. Somehow I cannot use the backspace key in my markdown. I don't know why. Okay, so tomorrow we're gonna. I have marked some issues here as good first issues, which is design the homepage, which is actually this component by one of our viewers. But these components are also good first issues. The component looks like this, and to improve, design the property card, and then also design this property details page. We need that. And then we're gonna. So I'm gonna create some first issues in this, and if anybody is interested in making a contribution, they are appreciated a lot. Server-side rendering. See, we're all aware of that. Tailwind. We actually already have Tailwind in this. We have Tailwind v3. We're using Tailwind to render this app. We are also using ShadCN components. This is actually a ShadCN component. This is rendered through Tailwind. This pretty looking gradient button is also Tailwind. But there's a lot that needs to be done. We need to style this. We need to make it look pretty. We already have the designs. Just need to spend some time doing it. which is where I could use your help. I am gonna make, I'm gonna replace this pin message. I'm gonna make issues in this repo, so you can go ahead and submit a PR if you are interested in adding a component, and I would much appreciate it. I will also take maybe a few questions if there are any. I can spend 10 minutes taking questions. Let me know if there are any questions. And it doesn't have to be about the app. It can be about career questions as well. Shimmer effect. You're coming to React India. I want to come to React India. So if you want to see that workshop, or let React India know on Twitter that you want to see that workshop, and I would be happy to do it. I was there at the last one. I love coming to React India every year. I love coming to that conference. It's one of my favorite conferences. Okay, let's do a quick. How many of you are working as a professional or like working in the industry versus going to school? So here's a question. How many of you are working in the industry or working as a dev versus studying in school? Or you could be doing both, actually, why not? So let me know in the comments. Are you working in the industry, or are you, can I create a poll? I actually don't know how to create a poll. Worked 2-year experience between jobs. Gotcha. Don't worry, Yash, you'll find a job soon. Poll. How do I do a poll? I don't know how to create a poll. Ooh, start a poll. Oh, heck yeah. You guys, if you're on Twitter, come join so we can create this poll. How long have you been in the industry? Less than a year. 1 to 5 years. Production greater than 5 years. Still in school. Okay. Come over to YouTube because I just created a poll and I would love to hear your answers. Working for 5 months, fresher. Wow, good for you. Working for 6 years as React. All I want to say is thank you. Aww, thank you, Dawn. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna take a screenshot of you saying all I want to say is thank you, and when I feel low and down, I'm gonna look at this and hopefully it'll make me feel better. Working on SaaS as dev since years. Wow. Is this your own SaaS? So far, 60% of the folks have said that they are been working for 1 to 5 years, which is awesome. Startup fast-paced developments. Oh wow. Yeah. Startups can be sometimes crazy. If you're watching this on Twitter, I want you to come over to YouTube so you can come and answer the poll. And I'm going to share the YouTube link as in case you don't have it. So come and answer the poll on YouTube. And here is here in the chat is the YouTube link to come and vote. Thanks a lot, Shruti, for all your educational content, subscribing to your channel. Oh, thank you, Shankar Nanda. I really appreciate you. Where questions later? Come and join the Discord. Hold on, I'm not sharing Discord link here, right? bit.ly/Shruti Discord. If you have any questions, come and hang out in the Discord. Yes, exactly. Hey, random guy. Okay, I see that more people are voting. Still, it seems that 1 to 5 years is in majority. Somebody in school, which is awesome that you are actually on a stream and learning new stuff while you're still in school. That is amazing. Working with React Native. We can do view transitions easily right now. Also, it takes less than 5 lines of CSS to see some effect. Let's do that in one of the streams. The name, that is right. The name is Tech Hustlers because we are hustling in tech. Right now on client side and the Windows PC took update itself. It's in start screen 130. I have to report what I did today. What will I say? They will think I did it on purpose. I'm on client side and the Windows PC took update. Oh, I see. After seeing poll, I'm not feeling imposter. Oh, don't feel imposter syndrome, Anas. This community is all about safety, about making you feel motivated. Imposter syndrome is not what this community is trying to be. The earlier part of this spectrum, but you're not going to stay there forever. You're going to head to the 1 to 5 years and the 5+ greater than 5 years soon. I just crossed the 5-year line though. I guess now I'm in the minority here. Exactly. Join the minority. Okay, so Amir, you said your Windows took 30 minutes to update and you have to report what you did today. I think I would just be honest. I would just say, hey, it took 30 minutes. And while it was doing this, I was still learning. You are on the stream, so you're learning about React, and I would just say that. I want to ask, currently the server code is mixed with the front-end code. By that I mean currently we have only one package JSON, also the backend code is just lying randomly in the root folder. Yeah, Kizzy, it's because I started off this project as a hobby project, just side project, and I just was adding stuff as I was going through, just functionality here and there, and I did not think about organization of the code. However, there is a current pull request open, that is in progress. There's a lot that needs to happen in this project. Honestly, the only time I work on this project, there's a lot that can be fixed. How long have you been working, Shruti? I have been working, this is my 11th year in being in the industry now. Over a decade of experience. I am currently at Slack, PayPal before. I have worked at a smaller company before that, which actually used to produce videos for wow, I just had I've told the story so many times. I was working at a smaller company that used to produce videos for Hollywood. So I would work on film videos, which was really cool. One of the videos that I worked on was Game of Thrones, which was really cool. I was working at TELUS Digital, which is a telecom company in Canada, and I was working on the digital department, which means I was working on the front end web app of it, which is where I learned React for the very first time. Question is, should I make an issue a PR first, separate that out? Since I did that, change the move to TSPR, but I think that point got missed out. Oh, do it. Don't need to even make a PR. Linux forever. Shruti, now you share your coding experience and tips for growing pips. Growing P? Yes, now I share my coding tips. Oh, share your coding experience and tips. Wait, I don't think I understand your comment, Kaizen. Yeah, I know, right? GOT was super cool to fun to work on. Okay, so all right, I'm gonna end the poll. Actually, I'll give 2 minutes more to anybody who wants to submit the poll. So if you're on Twitter and you're hearing about this poll, what the hell, come on over to YouTube and answer the poll. I'm gonna close the poll in 2 minutes. Come on over to YouTube. $11-year, wow, very congratulations, we're grateful that we're Aw, thank you, Anas. That is so sweet. Alrighty, ending the poll in 3, 2, 1, and okay, what is the result? I don't think you do, right? 1 to 5 years, 38% people. Still in school, 30% people. Less than 1 year, 15% people, and greater than 10 people. So the majority is 1 to 5 years, which actually is a pretty good number. Tips for front-end people for growing in this industry and going for a switch. For front-end people, one tip that I would do is keep learning, keep building. Tomorrow, actually, we have a really amazing fireside chat with Adi Osmani, and this is the tip that he shares as well. Adi is like one of the most successful people in our industry, whether it being like front end, whether it being performance optimizations, whether it being Google. He works at Google, so it's at 8 a.m. my time. I don't know what is that's going to be in your time, so it's going to be released at 8 a.m. my time. You gotta come and watch that. And he shares incredible tips for growing as a person in the industry. That is, stay curious, keep learning, and I think that is such a great tip because and another thing that he said was also to from scratch. And this is something that I try to emulate today as well in the stream, which is instead of just going directly to take on a library, why do we need for building something? Like, why are we adding Redux to this repo? When you start to ask the whys, you start to uncover a lot of the questions that will help you go deeper into the tech stack and also understand more fundamentals of the web app. So you're not just working on the high level, on the library levels, but you're also understanding why are we adopting certain things, what are the challenges that we're facing, what challenges are we trying to solve, and then you that architecture of the app in and out, and that is what will help you continue to grow, continue to understand the app, and continue to build your skills. So build something and ask why. Stay curious. Your stream cuts sometimes. Really? Oh. Okay, at this point, this is a really good point to pause the stream. Reminder that tomorrow TanStack Query in our app. tomorrow 8 a.m. I also have this fireside chat with Adi Osmani coming out. You cannot miss this chat. This is one of the best fireside chats I've ever done with any guest. And I had such a great time. I think it was so inspirational for me, and I'm sure it'll be so inspirational for you as well. I will see you tomorrow at 9:30 p.m. my time. Bye guys.